Order. For the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm sure most of you have agendas. The first item is a guest of the board, Dick Reisling. He'd like to talk to us. He's the director of Sullivan's Alliance for Sustainable Development, and he'd like to talk to us for a few minutes. Dick, you're on. I guess you know a lot of folks, and a lot of folks know you.
Yeah, a lot of you are my neighbors.
Yeah.
A lot of you I know pretty well, and I look forward to meeting many of the rest of you because we have a really exciting program, and I don't get excited about much. We have one really wonderful program in renewable energy and energy conservation to talk to you about, and that's the subject. You can get a very scientific energy audit on your home. Even if it's a new home, you should do it. And it will cost you nothing. And it will be done by someone here in Sullivan County who's specially licensed and trained and certified just for this process. It's a special licensure. This is being done really well. If you've done a survey with NICEAG or someone like that, they walk through the place, this is nothing like that at all. But it costs you nothing. Okay? They'll come back in about 3 weeks with a lot of engineering done and that kind of thing, but they'll also come back with a very user-friendly executive summary. I don't like those words. A summary. I don't know why we have to pile on all the time, but we forgot how to talk to each other. We're going to learn. We're going to learn. So it's a summary, and they'll sit down and say, hey, here's some things you could do, and here's how much it's going to cost, and here's how much it's going to save you in energy, and here's how much it's going to save you in money, and above all, here's how you're going to pay for it. And here's the sweet story. Some of you know I've been working in this field for about 10 years. And this is the first, absolutely first program that's worthy of you and me and everybody who works for a living and cares about their neighbors and tries to do their best and tries to get along, even when we disagree. We've got to all try to do that. Well, here's what everybody's going to agree on. This is set at a low interest rate of below 3%. Let me give you an example. Let's say the engineer study comes back and it says, yeah, your boiler from 68, you know, it was doing 70% way back then. Now it's not doing any close to 70. Or even if you have one from 95 and it was rated at 93% efficiency, but it's been working, it's now working at 65 or even at 85, something like that. Here are the opportunity costs for you to switch off that boiler. And right away your eyes start rolling and go, oh, wait a minute. Those German Badaris, and those are wonderful machines, but and they're nice and small. It saves me lots of room. I could hang the clothes up and that sort of thing. I could have a wood shop in the basement when you take out the big old boilers and put in a new sweet one like this. No, that's not the issue. Here's the issue. We have lots and lots of case studies. In fact, the contract will be written for you, and you will, of course, only go ahead if you want to do this, that you will not pay any money up front, and here's the sweeter, you will not pay any out of expenses ever. It's need-based, but it's really pie. You have to make over $140,000, $160,000 a year before you don't qualify for this. So most of you would raise your hands and say, hey, I'm qualified, so stay interested for 1 second. We'll just seal the deal right now. You can install windows, doors, insulate. We want you to insulate outside. We call it outsolation now, just to make the point a little bit. Change the skin on the building. There's many, many, many pre-approved measures that you can do. The contract then goes to a retrofitter. We'll have them from Sullivan County. They do the work. You have not written a check. It's done. Okay? Now I know there's other options out there. This is the one I want you to have. It's your money. You've been paying into it since 1977. It's time to get it back in your hands. The contract will be written, so you get, let's say you do $10,000. You get a new furnace, you get new windows, maybe you get some insulation in the basement and then in the attic, $10,000. $10,000, sign a $10-year note. Okay, your payment is $150 a month. It never changes. It's $150 a month times 12 months times 10 years. You're paid off. All right. The savings will be somewhere between $175 and $200 a month, or you don't sign the contract. The guarantee is you will actually pay the entire cost of the retrofit by the savings you generate every month, and hopefully have $10, $15, $25, up to $40 a month, even on these small end jobs. Thank you for participating in the program and making your energy efficient home and one that doesn't off-gas chemicals on you and your loved ones and the people in your neighborhood. It's that simple a program. It can be done entirely by you individually on the computer. We have an office at the Government Center. On Tuesday we run a help desk all day long. The number is 807-0578, and I have a card here for anybody who wants one. This is a dandy program. I hope you'll try it. It is just, well, when you've been waiting 10 years for something, that's long enough to be happy about something. This is for you. I hope you will take advantage of it. Here are the cards with all the information, with all the websites, with all the phone numbers. We will come out and sit with you. If you're a little bit anxious when it goes to writing the contract with the installer or with the retrofit expert, give us a call. We'll come out. We make house calls. We call ourselves Dr. Energy on that day, but you know, we're trying to be humble about it. Here's the idea, okay? We'll leave them here for you. We'd really like you to do that. Now, okay, I want to ask you to do something for me. The second thing we're talking about is, you may have heard there's things called REDCs, Regional Economic Development Consortia. There are 10 of them that encompass every single county, and within that, every single town in New York State. Governor Cuomo has said, here's $1 billion, I'm giving it to these regions. It has nothing to do with Albany. Albany will decide nothing about it. You decide how you want to spend that $1 billion out in the region. We're in a 7-county region. We're in the Mid-Hudson region. And you know, they always forget about us up here, and they forget about us here in the county, let alone in the 7-county Mid-Hudson region. Well, for whether it's good or not, I co-chair the energy working group for the entire 7-county area, which is about 85% of all the action. We have $90 million, and it can only go to competitive projects at the municipal level, not to the county, at the town level only. So start thinking up, Ed and guys and ladies up here, what are the projects you've been wanting to do that you couldn't afford? Because the only way you're going to get the money is not saying, you know, my building is older. No, that doesn't work. This money comes from a very special pool. It's called the RGGI money. It's the money that are fines that corporations have paid for not complying with their pollution standards. It's a lot more money than a group called NYSERDA. Okay? It's $1 billion. All right? So we will allocate $30 million, $300 million, I'm sorry. And I'm assuming that we will, if we're as good as anybody else, and I think we'll be better than many, we'll get a minimum of $30 million for our group. How much of that can come to Sullivan County? It can only come to Sullivan County if you will develop projects, which we will do at no cost to you, that do 2 things. Only 2 criteria are key. And some of you may not be real enthusiastic about this, but it's your money. Here's how you can get it. And they are good things to do. Does your garage, if you want to do a new town garage, if you're going to retrofit this building, if you're going to buy some new vehicles, does it reduce greenhouse gases more than the next town's vehicle purchase or a fuel purchase or building retrofit? You may not think that's important. It is the only way you're going to get the money. This $1 billion is tied to this criteria. And the second one is, are you smart enough in the way you're designing that program to save those greenhouse gases so that you have the highest creation of new jobs within that appropriation, within those projects. Okay? It's just that. Now, I know a lot of us don't really care about that too much. But we've got to take care of ourselves, and it's impossible. We are all looking at impossible burdens and impossible responsibilities, but they can't be put off. They're always more expensive. So, we're asking you, we have done this now we're into 7 towns. We're going to do all 15 towns if we're invited in. I've talked to your supervisor about this. We have made a very user-friendly 3-page document. We will do it for you in your office here, or you could have somebody do it. But now I'm asking the ladies and gentlemen up here, because there has to be a decision about this. I'm asking you to give us permission to collect your vehicle data, you know, how many miles each of your trucks runs and goes in a year, and what kind of fuel it uses, how much is your kerosene bill here a year, how much is your number 2 heating oil, how much is your diesel fuel, all that sort of thing. And then we'll bring that back to you and say, what here would you like to change? We have some real options for you that fit these standards of very high rates of greenhouse gas emission reduction, and then we choose the technologies that are more dense in job creation. For instance, wind, no. You don't have wind here anyhow, but a couple towns do. So we're talking, it's very different, town by town by town by town. And then one other thing we would ask you to do that is, you signed this thing called a Climate Smart Community Pledge, and I've shared that with Ed, and here's some other copies of it, where you're basically saying you're going to try to get smarter about how you use your energy. And everyone can agree on one thing. We need to be saving money. We need to be saving energy. Saving energy for the kids, saving money for ourselves, and then the kids. So 2 things, 2 programs. This is a wonderful program for everybody. You don't have to ask anybody's permission. Please do this for your own sake. And this one, there's a lot of money out there. It only comes through this single vehicle, and SASD would be glad at no cost at all to bring back an evaluation of your data and provide it for you, and then work with the leadership and the community in general about what kind of projects you want to put forward. And this we have to have ready by the end of January. So I would like to hope that you, not necessarily when I'm here, and I know this looks bad, and I speak a lot. I never leave a meeting except I have to go to the Board of Trustees at WJFF, which is on right now, and they're having a roast of a meeting over there. So I've got to leave, and I really apologize for that. I wish I could be invisible when I sneak out, because it looks bad, but my heart's with you. Let's see if we can get something done here. So,
thank you.
Yep. Here's the cards. Yep. And you have Ed, you have the entire package from when we met with you before. So here is and here is the, let's see. Well, I wrote a little note on that one, but it's a nice note, so.
Okay. I'll copy the board.
Any questions, anybody? Mike?
Yeah, I just wanted to, the first, just say something, the first program that I spoke of is the Green Jobs, Green New York program. You may have heard it. It's administered through NYSERDA, and the process is really easy. It's a 1-page application. You have to get your last 2 years of fuel bill, electric and fuel bill usage, which you can easily get through NYSEG and through your fuel company. And they will assign a home assessor, and they will come with a blower door test, infrared cameras with, it's for safety too, because they will come with sniffers, they're called, for gas leaks and things like that you may not be aware of in your house. And then when they come back and do the means, they'll give you, you don't have to fill out anything. The inspectors who come and will do the work will deal with all the paperwork with NYSERDA to apply for the loan, which is like a 2%, 2.5%, 2 3/4, somewhere in that range. It's a very easy application. They work with banks that you don't have to get a bridge loan to pay the person. NYSERDA will pay the home improvement person directly. So as Dick said, there's no money out of the pocket at all, so it's a fantastic program.
There's even one other thing. You can elect to have it paid right on your utility bill. So they can set up a special account, and then you don't have to wonder about, well, did I pay my bill this month, or where's that bill, did it come in yet? This is really a very smart, it's the kind of thing we deserve, folks. Let's go get it.
Okay. Thank you, Dick.
Yeah. We'll do that in a way that's easy for everybody. Thank you. Take care, Dick. Good night. Thank you.
We forgot to accept the minutes from last meeting. Can I get a motion? Cindy moves. Second?
Second. Okay, go ahead.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to reports. First report is Tess, you're up, town clerk.
August receipts totaled $2,353.40, with $2,308.90 turned over to the supervisor. Of that, $2,110.40 was building fees. I've set our flu clinic for Delaware and Fremont for Wednesday, October 10th, from 10 to noon at the youth center. Medicare patients are free. Everybody else, the cost is $21 for flu shots and $35 for pneumonia shots. Correspondence. We received one letter in support of the gas drilling resolution and 4 against. Copies were provided to the board. On August 21st, we received a letter from Beth Peck thanking the board for waiving the permit fee for the proposed construction on the Calhoun Library. A letter was received from Senator Schumer regarding the Postal Service, and copies were provided to the board. Public Health Services sent a letter about their concerns with lifeline screenings, and a copy is available in my office if you're interested. On September 13th, we received a letter from Liam Murphy requesting a review by the Town Ethics Board, and copies were provided to the town board. A retirement resolution, the comptroller contacted us, and we had error with Brenda's where we were reporting her time differently than they wanted. So I am requesting a resolution approving the standard workday for Brenda that she participates in the timekeeping system. We did this in February. You'll move it?
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's my report.
Bill, you're up. Superintendent of Highways.
Everything's good in the town of Delaware, ain't it? I thought so. No, everything is good. Roads are all paved and sealed. We're just waiting for winter. Yeah. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask and I'll try to answer.
How much rain did we get?
All of it.
I know.
No. About 3 or 4 inches.
Wasn't that much?
Some places got
I
more.
had 5 at my house.
Yeah. Some got more.
Does that count what
Yeah.
went in the basement? Wash anything out?
We didn't have water in the basement this time.
Oh my goodness.
Portlandville was
Everything is
Lord
good.
for that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was, Coraltown wasn't. Howard, where are you? I can't find everybody tonight.
Come over here. There's been a uptick in the last few weeks in building permits. It's pretty busy at the moment. Other than that, no problems. Things are moving right along. So, any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
We have, Jenny, are you here to give a report?
I'm here. I just printed out a report. It's a tax growth factor for cities and towns, and since it's budget time, you might want to know how much the tax base has grown for the town of Delaware. It lists all the towns, but you just might be interested in town of Delaware. Of other note, there are 2 other properties that sold recently that the new owners have expressed an interest in claiming religious tax exemption. So you can just bear that in mind at budget time as well.
What was that?
2 properties that sold recently that the new owners have expressed interest in being tax exempt for religious purposes.
Imagine that.
That's my report. You should pay too.
Okay, the next report is from our grants coordinator, Kara. She happens to be here.
We submitted a TAG grant at the end of August for a couple different projects. The first being the soil and topography map for the assessor's office and Howard as well to use. And the second project was to take all of the historical archives and put them on a website and to pay for the domain name for 5 years. The website would be linked to other sites that we have in the town, the business association, the town site, any other relevant sites that may be of interest. And with the hope that people coming to our area could learn the history of our town and the Upper Delaware River, and it would bring more commerce and tourism. So the whole grant was $26.48, $26.98.
Well, she doesn't know about it.
Well, it's not public yet.
Oh,
October 3rd.
Yeah, that's when it's supposed to
Yeah,
formally come out with it.
And I went last week to the UDC. Harold was there as well and just presented the information on the grant.
Very good.
Callicoon Creek Park Committee. Michael?
Yeah,
That's
well,
you?
Thank you. We had our last concert on the 1st, and it was a great end to the season of the Callicoon Creek Park Under the Moon in Callicoon, and we're going to be looking for next year, and we'd love to get a variety and expand it. So if anyone have any ideas, and we're going to stay totally local, like local groups, whether it's a polka group, whether we're looking into doing some flamenco dancing, getting there and doing performances in the park. We get the stage, we get the insurance, and those are the two big expenses, the stage lights and things like that. And we're going to be putting the word out to get people who are interested in presenting something for the community, because it's everyone's park. And we did good. We actually were in the black this year, which was very, very rare. And we're going to keep it all local, in-home stuff. So, and if anyone has any ideas for the use of the park, it's the town's park. It's a community park. We'd love to hear about it and look at the newspaper or go to the blog site, which is Callicoon Creek Park. .blog.
If you put in Callicoon Creek Park, it'll come up. You got no excuses.
It'll say what's going on, and you can contact us, make comments, and let's open up the dialogue. So the season's ending, and we're getting ready for the next one, 2013. So that's it.
We need a dancing parquet over there. If you can do it for us, it would be great.
The dancing parquet?
Yeah, we need to dance.
Whoa.
Outside.
Oh, sure. There was dancing at the band performances and things.
In Europe, every little village had a little parquet
Yeah.
in the middle of the wood. The older people were dancing, young people were dancing, and everything was fine.
Great. Contact us, and we are looking for committee members, and you can be in charge of the dancing parquet. Let's see, that's Eva D.R.O. Gotcha. Thank you.
Question on that. I haven't heard anything about those little four-legged things that run around in the park. How has that been going? Do you know?
Well, I don't know. Has anyone picked up any
I don't know, I just asked.
results? I think it's been okay. I think people.
The only thing, we actually just got an email comment from one of the shop owners,
Yeah.
who specifically mentioned the policy with the dogs in the park, and that it's a much more welcoming policy. It's, it brings people to the park.
Yeah.
Anything that brings people, that's the point of the future.
Yeah, that's the one.
Thank God. Okay.
What about their byproducts, I guess? I think their byproducts have been,
disappearing?
That's disappearing.
Oh, wonderful.
The last rain helped wash them away.
Last rain. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Next report is the UDC representative. Harold, you're up.
Already? Oh my goodness. Okay, here it is. We got one extra because John isn't here tonight. I'll hand one to the press.
Thank you.
The storage, if you look at the graph, I don't know, maybe I should just stand up and show you. This was as of August 31st, so it's a little bit behind time right now. But we were right there. That darker line is what has been observed over the years. Can you see that? That dark line? And this is the point over here where we were on the 31st. So we were just below what was the median that we had experienced over many, many years. So we were pretty good as far as the water goes. Of course, we had a lot more. It's probably going to bring it up over that line because you can see that line just goes straight down. Although we've been dry for quite a while. Now we have a lot of rain, so whether it stays in that area or not, I don't know. That represented a total New York City daily storage of 193.9 billion gallons of water. And the long-term median was 204.376, so it's just below that line. We get this every month from the DRBC. At the UDC board, so we have a full report. You could go online too if you want to find out yourself. You can go on to the DRBC thing and get it up to date if you want to see how much water is in storage. In fact, just to give you an idea, you think it's all equal. It really isn't. Never Sink, the storage was 67.6%. Papacton was only at 78.1, and Cannonsville at 63.5. Just a reminder that Cannonsville is the one that puts all the water in our Delaware River. Because if it wasn't for that water coming out there, you wouldn't have hardly any water in that river. They chopped it off when they put all these dams in years ago, so they had to make some kind of a deal so that there would be water in here, otherwise we wouldn't have water. And actually it did change. If you're as old as I, you remember being in that river when it was kind of warm and low and didn't smell too good, and you could almost walk across the Pennsylvania without getting your sneakers too wet. But things have changed quite a bit. So there's much more water coming down. And that's good for the trout. And for fishermen and for canoeing and for anybody else who likes to use the river. Another thing that came up was a tag. Kara was talking about the tag grants. As she had said, we applied for 2. I'm not allowed to tell you what happened other than, yes, we did. We're going to get something. That's all I can tell you. We will get something out of that. And I think that's a good thing. And let's see, they finally settled on the wording of some English language in their 5-year plan of where their emphasis should be over the next 5 years. The UDC did that. And we will be having at the end of this month a new project review person. Dave Sodi has been with us for what, 23 years or something like that. And he's finally decided he's going to throw in the towel and do other things with his life. So he's moving out, and we will be having a new person take his place. And that's all I have. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say about the UDC?
So could you summarize what the emphasis of the UDC is in the 5-year master plan?
The emphasis?
You just referenced it.
Yes, the overall emphasis was when they did this whole project, it was used to protect private property rights. But there was such a jingle jangle about that. It ended up that they put that in there as it is already in the river management plan. It's nothing new or foreign to it. It's just that they felt that over the years they weren't paying much attention to it at all. But they did put in good wording. In fact, I was one of those who helped put that wording together. If you look back at the old notes, and you'll see that in the minutes and all. But it's to do both. That's what it's there for. It's to protect the river and the corridor and to protect private property rights. That's the whole reason for the UDC's existence. Good question. Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
All right, I'm up. We met, actually Harold and I and Bill Eschenberg met about possibly employing a new, kind of a new system, that's that the right word?
Yep.
For our storm management, road storm management. And I was delighted that it was a great idea. It was a breath of fresh air. It's an opportunity for the town to save some money, but to do things a little differently. And primarily what it has to do with is pre-road
Well,
maintenance. In
what
other
you
words, prior to the storm,
Right.
we would go out and we would spread a slurry of salt, which we already use, and calcium chloride. So I'm gonna let Bill.
What we would do is we would take, instead of doing things the way we've been doing, what we would do is go out before a storm, and you would have salt and your liquid, and you would make a paste, and you would spread it like that, 4 feet or 5 feet up the center of the road, so that when the storm comes, say there's going to be an ice storm at midnight, we can go out at 6 o'clock in the evening with this truck. We can put that down at midnight. The ice storm can come, and as soon as it hits that, salt just dissipates it. You have to have liquid with it so that it keeps making a brine, and as it makes a brine, it keeps going out from the center of the road. It goes down into the wheel tracks and stuff, and it keeps the snow from knitting to the road, bonding to the road, so that you can't get it off. So supposing you were coming home from work at midnight, 2 o'clock, you could come over 164, to any road that we do with it, and be safe. You wouldn't have anything to worry about. But I can do 80 miles of road with 2 loads of material versus going out with 8 trucks and splattering it all over the place and it doing absolutely nothing. So in the long run, it is the way of the future. We got to do things different if we're going to continue to be in the highway business. Just for your safety, for a little more hair on my head from worrying about things. But it is something, and when I thought of this idea, I said I have to have someone come that already has one to prove it to these 2 gentlemen that what I'm saying isn't just blowing smoke. So I got the town of Thompson to come over, which has 2 of these spreaders, and Ed and Harold can tell you just what they said.
How many years has they been using that?
I think it's 3 or 4 that they've been.
And they mentioned that they were able to get to all their roads and have them safe quicker, but at the same time they were able to save their town quite a lot of money over a period of time.
Right.
Even considering what this thing cost, there was a lot of money left over from the whole thing.
Now,
so that helped.
Right. This if you take salt, when salt goes from 30 degrees to 25 degrees, it loses 70% of its kick. So if you're paying $70 or $55 for a ton of salt, and you're putting it down at 25 degrees, you're only using $13 worth of salt. Now, if you put it down with liquid to it, which will take it down to 25 below zero, you gain the whole $55. Go ahead, Jen.
Billy, how far is 80 miles?
Well, the town is 62 miles.
Oh, okay, so you're
So
talking all
you
of
could
us.
do, right, and we're not gonna do all the dead ends, and we're not gonna do,
You're not gonna do all the dead ends?
Well, yeah, that is a 4-mile dead end. Well, yeah, but, what I'm saying is it'll make it so that overnight things can do what they gotta do, and at 4 o'clock in the morning we'll be out to do what we always do, you know what I mean? That's because when the ambulance goes out, the phone rings, Bill, we can't get up, go over the hill. I can't have it. We gotta, it's gotta change. Go ahead, somebody.
I wanted to ask, is that the same, whatever New York State puts on Route 97?
They just use pure salt.
They use pure salt.
Pure
They
salt.
don't use anything else but salt.
Now,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right. Now this liquid I've used for going on 12 years. January will be 12 years, and you can sell the roads in the town of Delaware by far better than any roads in any other. Go ahead, Mike.
Is this spreader a separate vehicle? Is it an
No,
accessory
no,
onto a truck?
It's a sander that goes on the truck.
Okay.
And it has, you know how the spinner's in the center of the truck?
Of course.
This comes out and it goes right behind the driver's side tire. And you have the tanks on the side with your spray nozzle, which are ground speed controlled. So that thing can only put out so much, whether you're going 50 miles an hour or 6 miles, which
Would
you'll
you
never be doing 50
propose
miles.
having two of them, or just one of them right now?
Yeah, that's all,
Or
that's
just-
all, yeah.
Just
The-
one?
No, the
I mean,
town,
how expensive are they? I don't know.
well,
Can we
by
pick
the
them
time
up
you get
at-
all done with everything, you'll
Walmart?
have close to 30,000.
About, okay.
But it can be paid for out of the highway budget, because I've done my homework and tried to save, so the taxpayers wouldn't have to come up with, you know what I mean?
Pay for itself in a
Well,
matter of a
just,
few
just,
years.
just some figures, Mike. Every storm costs us about $7,584 without labor and without fuel. And that's a 2-inch storm, 5-inch storm, that's
Doesn't
the,
really
that's the
matter.
norm. With this system, we should, again, without labor costs and without the fuel costs, it'll cost about $3,200. So the savings is significant. In 8 or 9 storms, we would pay for this machine. And I don't, you know, it was a breath of fresh air, a great idea, but the fact that there's another town that absolutely swears by its efficiency and how well it works. I mean, that impressed me, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
very much so.
And
Yeah.
impressed
What do
Darryl.
we know about that?
This was again, it's nice to get a really fresh, good idea that can, because we're always trying to do more with less, and this is exactly what this thing does. In addition to saving us money, so.
I got a couple questions.
What's this gonna do with your manpower overtime?
We're still gonna be working.
So it's not gonna save anything in manpower time?
Well, put it this way, if we send that truck out to do its thing, we still gotta come in at 4 o'clock in the morning.
And scrape it
and
off.
if it's snowing that much, we gotta keep up with it anyway, so it's not gonna gonna reinvent the snowplow business, let's put it that way.
Billy,
It's gonna make it safer at night when we're not there, that people can still continue to travel.
can you use that in all kinds of, I probably missed this part before you said it, but like ice, snow, anything?
Ice, snow, yeah,
Everything?
yeah. Because what you wanna do is you wanna get it out in the center of the road so that it'll work. And as the snow falls on it, or the rain, it makes a brine, and that brine just keeps working its way out, and it prevents that snow from bonding to the road to become a hard pack.
I was told that it works better if the salt or this brine or whatever you call this is on the ground first,
Mm-hmm.
and then any precipitation hits it, it'll dissipate
It
very
takes-
fast. The other way around, is not anywhere near as efficient.
It takes 6 times more material to melt snow from the top down than it does from the bottom up.
So that's-
Now, when you talk 6 times, you're talking a lot of money, at $55 a ton. And sometimes those trucks go around 2 or 3 times a day or more, depending on the storm.
Hi, it sounds like a terrific idea, but I'm wondering if you have like a plan B, like does it work? Like what, if you commit to it, is it like for the year, all or nothing? Or in other words, if we try it, it may get washed away too
Well, let's
fast
put
on
it-
us?
well,
Could we
let's-
go back to plan B
Like
or?
anything else, you gotta experiment. But you can't just say, I'm gonna do this and throw that out. You gotta hold on to that until you see
Right.
if this works. And-
Because it could add cost. I mean, if it doesn't work all the time,
No,
you could be
it-
putting this down and then coming in again
No.
after, you know, some of these
You're still gonna have
rains.
to go out. Eventually, you're gonna have to go out again.
Yeah,
But when it snows, Mother Nature does what she wants, and all I can do is try to get it off the road so you can go
right.
to the store at 30, 40 miles an hour.
The only reason I'm saying is, you know, Thompson, like, is Thompson like the strip
Thompson's-
outside of the Monticello Raceway?
The town of Thompson.
Because that is not ever a nice place to be.
That's a state road.
That's a state road.
But the
Whatever
town
they're
has 200
doing.
and how many?
Oh my God.
180 miles?
180 miles. 180
They have a lot more than we have.
State highway.
That's a state highway.
It's not the town of Thompson.
I
You know,
don't
last-
see what
last-
you're talking about on
Last
that road.
year I tried something different, and I'm gonna do, and I keep trying things. That's the way it is, you know. But
Yeah.
we went from using sand and turning roads into mud. That just when it got cold, it just made it worse. We went to stone with salt. So we'll give you a little stone for traction.
Right.
Then you hear, well, I don't like the stone. Well, it beats my car up. the same people who don't like the stone that beats their car up drive down the road that's just been sealed at 60 miles an hour, don't even think about it. But in the winter time, when you put stones on the road, the stones go with they go to the edge. They don't stay there where they rattle out, they work their way to the edge.
Yeah.
And after a few passes, you don't hear the clinkety bang, you know?
Yeah.
It's, and 99% of the time people will say that stuff, but when they're sitting there and their hands are just as stuck to the steering wheel and their knuckles are white and they're saying,
Yeah.
boy, I wish the town was here. It's a
No,
different story.
I do appreciate the
Yeah.
good work that you do.
So, go ahead, Deb.
I just have a hard time perceiving that going down the middle is actually gonna just magically coat the whole road.
What it's not gonna do, it's not coating the whole road, but it's gonna make, say it makes a strip this wide and this wide on each side of that crown. So your tire is on kind of a bare ground and their tire is on kind of a bare ground, and you can pass this way instead of, you gotta experiment, you gotta try it, and it'll work. I'm
Yeah, it's
telling
not
you.
just gonna have the whole road melted.
No, you're
just
not
a
gonna,
tire lane.
when it's snowing 2 inches an hour, you're not gonna be driving down the road like you are now, but it'll have something there to keep it from knitting, from becoming hard packed.
Is that with the drive wheel? Yeah, that's another one. The drive wheels are.
It's ground speed
on
control.
the left side, on the driver's side, so it's.
What's the corrosion factor on this
It's
stuff?
got anti-corrosion inhibitor right in the liquid. Yeah, it's got stuff in there to slow down the rust.
I'd
The
like to
best
move-
I can tell you.
I'd like to move along. I want to make a couple of announcements. We have selected, the town board has met, and we have selected a sole assessor. It's Renee Ozamak, and she will start January 1st. She has been in, we've met with her along with all the other candidates, and she's the one that we selected. I just wanted to make that announcement. And the other thing I want to talk about or just mention is the Calhoun streetscape. I assume that most of you folks have been in Calhoun and looked at the project that's going on by Kunchuk Realty, and I think it's coming out really nice. It's almost complete, if not, it's probably 99% complete, Michael. I saw you there Monday?
Monday, right.
And the railings were not all welded in, and it wasn't backfilled. I think it's been backfilled today.
Oh, you mean it's been paved, the asphalt
Yeah,
patched?
and you know, they backfilled the back of the wall also.
So now it's just waiting for greenery to soften it up. It looks a little hard-edged at the moment, but we have built-in planters, there'll be other planters.
Has the topsoil been put in the planters?
I don't know if that's been done, I
Hasn't
wasn't
been?
there, no, but we
So
will
there's
get
a few
that.
odds and ends that have to be done, but it's probably 98% complete, yeah. Doesn't look that great.
It's very
The
attractive.
benches and the
Very
sign that Cindy got for the railroad, a history sign and stuff. So it'll be a nice little center helping to connect Upper and Lower Main Street. But the other thing is the town, the railroad is committed to improve the crossing there too. We know how uneven and how there's no definition between road and walkway. Well, they have told us that next year they're going to upgrade that, so we'll make even a stronger connection between Upper and Main Street, and possibly get some crosswalks in, but that's a whole process unto itself, so we can, not have this, dividing railroad. We can join the two.
It really looks terrific. Good job.
I'm having a hard time seeing whether your architectural drawing is better than the real thing, or the real thing is better than the drawing. But it's very nice. Congratulations to that.
Representation of things to come.
Yep.
The next item on the agenda is old business, and it has to do with appointing the gas jury commission. So I'd like to announce the appointment of the commission. The people that are going to serve on the commission are Earl Kinney, Fred Stabbert, and Matt Hofer. Craig Schumacher, Kara has agreed to serve, and Cindy Menges. So at least one of these people said that they really couldn't do much until October started. Because they were tied up with some, yeah, it is right around the corner. So, and I said that would be fine. So,
Good.
We'll be meeting with those folks and getting them started as soon as possible, but it probably won't be until after the 1st of October. Okay, now we have new business.
Excuse me, this commission, I mean, since we have here two views, who's representing what view?
I'm not sure. What did she say? What did she say?
She wants to know who the commission that you're forming,
Yeah.
who's representing, I hate to say it, you know,
3 and 3.
the different opinions.
Okay, we can talk about it if you want, but first of all, there are 3 pro-drillers and 3 anti-drillers. And they're not anti-drillers, they're people that are opposed. And these people are all reasonable, objective people that went by. Every one of us on the board here has looked at their names and submitted names, and even some people out from you folks have submitted names. And they've been selected from all of that. But this is not a debate. It's a search for the truth. That's what it is. It's a search for the truth. And it's not a debate. If it's going to be a debate, it's not going to work. Okay? So it really, and in order to do it, we need reasonable, objective people. And that's what we think we have.
Okay, fine. So what are the names of the 3 commission members who are against the drilling and will try to find the truth? And who are the names of the people who are for the drilling and will try to find the truth?
Well, I didn't mix them up. The first 3 names, which were Earl Kinney, Fred Stabbert, and Matt Hofer. And by the way, these are not, they are, I put them on the pro side. But let me say this, these people are not adamant pro-drillers. They're open-minded people. That's what, it is not a debate. This is not one group trying to convince another group. And if that's the case, this thing is not going to work. So, Craig Schumacher and Kara and Cindy, I wouldn't classify any of those people as, while they are on the anti-drilling side, they're not zealots, and they don't want to argue. I don't think you'd want to argue, do you, Kara? So, please give it a chance. I think there are 6 very reasonable, intelligent people with good reputations and are objective, and I just ask you to please let it work. Because if we don't even try, it's not going to work. The next thing we have, actually, it's more of an announcement, and it's the Sullivan Household Hazardous Waste Collection. It's September 29th, and this is they pick up acceptable items. I'll read it to you. Solvents, oil-based paints, antifreeze, pool chemicals, acid bases, fluorescent bulbs, cleaning products, mercury-containing devices, pesticides, herbicides, automotive batteries, roofing tar, wood preservatives, adhesives, creosote, stains, and inks. So this is the place to bring your paint cans. Unacceptable item, LPG gas tanks, unacceptable. Medical waste is unacceptable. Oh, latex paint is not acceptable.
And where do we bring it here?
Monticello transfer station.
I'm sorry, the Monticello Transfer Station. Sponsored by the County Division of Public Works. And anybody wants information, we have it up here for you.
And you need to pre-register.
Yeah, you gotta
When is
give
it?
you time.
29th.
29th of September, it's a Saturday. 12:30 to 4:30. You know, maybe we should make some more copies.
They'll do it for free, but you do have to pre-register, so.
Next item on our agenda is meeting protocol.
I spelled it wrong.
And
I know. I wasn't gonna run more copies though.
That's part of the save the paper, save a tree.
Right.
All of the town board members have looked this over at this point in time. And starting at our next meeting, we would like to adopt this, I think. Anybody have any comments?
Adopt what? Well, this has to be.
Well, we have to adopt it.
Yeah. I thought we were gonna do that now, but we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we have to adopt it.
Yeah.
But we have.
And then it'll go into effect.
Until
Okay,
the next
that's
meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to.
Also move. I'll second it.
I'm sorry, who moved?
Harold.
What is the meeting protocol?
Well, it's a list of meeting protocol rules.
Could you read it?
Would you please read it to us?
It was on, wouldn't you put this on?
It's online.
It's online, it was published. I thought that all you folks were such,
All right, you'd like to bring a computer and so we can see?
I have some extra copies here.
if you'd like to see them, yeah.
Can you read it?
Could you just read it?
It's good,
I'm not gonna read it, it's 4 pages. It has to do with meeting decorum, mostly.
What is it? We already shut it down.
Is that gonna apply to all town meetings?
Can you just summarize what our protocol is?
We can adopt our own.
You can adopt your own.
Yeah, you can adopt your own.
Could you summarize the protocol, please?
Geez, I hadn't, you want me to read it, I'll read it.
Oh, it's gonna be an hour.
Except for public hearings duly designed as such by action of the town board, public participation at meetings of the town board shall be limited to the public participation segment of the agenda of regular town board meetings, once a month and not at town board workshop or special meetings. Public comment, whether during the public participation segment of the town board meeting or during a duly designated public hearing, shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. An individual's time may not be given or traded to other speakers or reserved for other portions of the meeting. Any persons wishing to speak at the meeting during the public participation segment or during the public hearings must sign the sign-in sheet upon entering the room. When such sign-in sheet is available indicating his or her intention to speak, which sheet shall be used by the supervisor or presiding officer to recognize speakers. Any person wishing to speak at a public meeting during the public participation segment or during the public hearing when a sign-in sheet is not available shall raise his or her hand when recognized by the supervisor or presiding officer. The individual must stand and state his or her name, if appropriate, group affiliation, and must state the subject he or she will be addressing. Comments must relate to the purpose of the public hearing or legitimate town business. The supervisor or the presiding officer shall act as timekeeper or shall designate another elected officer as timekeeper. That'll be you, Tess. Members of the town board, speakers, and audience members must observe proper decorum. Any statements made during the meeting or during a public hearing by the supervisor, members of the town board, town officials, or employees, or members of the general public shall not involve personal, impertinent, or slanderous attacks on individuals, regardless of whether the individual so attacked is an elected official, a town official, or an employee or member of the general public. The supervisor or the presiding officer shall control the meeting. The use of profane, vulgar, inflammatory, threatening, or abusive, disparaging language, or racial or ethnic slurs directed at the supervisor, members of the board, town officials or employees, members of the general public, or statements by person attending the meeting which are not made during public participation segment of the agenda or during a public hearing shall not be tolerated. It is inappropriate to utilize a public meeting for the purpose of making political speeches, including threats or public action, and the same will not be tolerated. Comments by speakers must be addressed to the town board. Attendees may not address the town board unless recognized by the supervisor. Discussions between speakers and attendees of the public meeting or hearing are prohibited. A speaker may disagree with or support prior speakers in comments directed to the town board. No person attending a meeting or public hearing shall engage in booing, hand clapping, or otherwise disrupt the formality of the proceeding. Banners, flyers, or other signs are not permitted in the meeting room. Distribution of flyers in the meeting room is also not permitted. If the supervisor or presiding officer fails to enforce the rules set forth herein, any member of the town board may move to require him or her to do so, and the affirmative vote of a majority of the town board shall require him or her to do so. Any decision relating to the enforcement of the rules set forth herein may be appealed and overturned by a vote of the majority of the town board. Any person who disregards the directives of the supervisor or presiding officer in enforcing the rules or generally conducting himself or herself in a boisterous, inappropriate manner while addressing the town board or otherwise during the meeting disturbs the peace at a meeting and will be barred from further participation and lose any balance of time remaining on his or her comments. If speaker who violates these rules refuses to step down, the supervisor or presiding officer may ask the individual to be removed from the meeting and charged with disorderly conduct in accordance with penal law. The above rules shall become effective immediately.
Who will do the removal? Let's just do it
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
I didn't hear either one of those.
Okay.
Harold and Al.
Harold and Al. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bill, did you want something?
No, I just gotta ask you something before we're done here.
Okay, the next item is the resolution for the truck, for bonding. Again, that was, all the stuff was published.
This was all published?
Yeah, this was all published, and it was all on the internet.
Oh, on the internet, yeah.
It's all on our website.
All these documents, you guys, are under the website under meetings, and then it's under meeting docs for review. So it's the documents that are up every month. It'll change month by month, so, okay, that's where you find it.
So, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Harold? And Al second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Well, the next item is the MMTF, the local road use preservation law, and we don't have, that's not quite ready next month. It'll be ready next month. There are a couple of things that we need to just tweak it.
So we're gonna move that till next month.
Yeah, we're gonna table.
I'm glad that we've been looking at some stuff.
Next item is on the agenda is Zeke Boyle. Zeke came and asked for some time, and of course, we always like to hear from Zeke.
Thank you, Ed. I've got petitions in here somewhere. There's one for each of you to read along.
Here we go.
Yeah, I had a file on this.
Okay, how
I
much?
could use it.
Penny, want one? I'd like to read this now. You don't speak for me. As a taxpayer in the town of Delaware, I wish to reply to the town board's resolution of June 20th, 2012, inviting the gas industry to come to our town. You passed a resolution invoking, quote, property rights, which doesn't include everyone's property rights. People who want to lease and people who don't want to lease have property rights that deserve to be respected and protected by local government. You do not make hydrofracking, quote, safe and responsible by passing a resolution saying you want it to be. The resolution was hastily decided without notice to residents and an opportunity to be heard. The resolution does not represent my views. I'm presenting these petitions in behalf of 430 of your constituents who are dissatisfied and disagree with the resolution proposed by Harold Roeder. It is your responsibility as the elected representatives of our community to read each and every one. You'll find names that you've heard for years, along with names you've never heard, and you can read comments from your friends, neighbors, and relatives. People united with one purpose, to say that the Roeder resolution does not speak for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And next item on the board is Steve Lundgren asked to say a few words.
Before I speak, I need to ask a question. It's about the elephant in the room. The board was notified electronically and I think in other means before this meeting and before the last meeting when people were turned away. The request was made for you to comply with the open meetings law and make certain that, you know, the audience could be handled appropriately. These people have had to be standing for the entire time. Is there any particular reason why you did not make alternate arrangements?
Well, I thought at the last meeting there were some people that also asked for alternate meeting arrangements, and we had 61 people attend that meeting.
Yeah.
I thought that it would be a little premature to make a new meeting place. It isn't just as easy as snapping your fingers. I mean, we don't have the youth center anymore. And there was that room over there that you refer to as the fire hall. Yeah. Is not reserved for us. It's already a nursery school, and we disrupt the nursery school in order to have a meeting. So I kind of thought that we would actually talk to the town board about it. And it was our feeling that we would wait and see, just to see how many people are attending these meetings.
So in the event that 15 or 20 people here, I can see that maybe
I doubt
five
there's
or
15
six
or 20 out
people
there,
you
but-
could accommodate. But if there's 15 or 20 people, what are you going to do at the next meeting? Are you going to try to turn people away, as Howard tried to do at the last meeting? And there was one gentleman here who's in the doorway. He got turned away and told it. So what is your plan? You know, if you don't know how many people are going to be here, and if you do have an overflow crowd, what are you going to do? Are you going to cancel the meeting and reschedule it, or do you have a fallback plan?
Well, we could cancel it. Is that what you like? I don't know. I mean,
already-
I don't think we should cancel the meeting. No, I think that there are, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people standing out there. 7, counting Kara. I didn't think that was.
But what if 15 or 20 or 30 people show up?
You know, what if 100 showed up?
Yeah.
But I don't have we don't have a town hall to accommodate. So we have to make other meeting recommendations or accommodations, and we will.
Okay,
But I wanted to see how it went
All right.
before I rented a hall, disrupted the school over there, and I don't even know if the firemen are going to let us have it. We can't use the youth center at the present time. So there are a lot of There's
What about a school auditorium?
school auditorium.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it better to have more room just in case more people show up?
No, I don't.
School? You're not in the town of Delaware.
I don't know, I come from the city, so this is all brand new to me. I'm trying to figure out where this goes. But if you go
It's gonna
into,
kinda have to be in our town. I don't know about leaving the,
Okay, I'm just gonna ask that you give it a little bit more consideration for next month. As long as the rotor resolution is on the table, as long as the letter that you and Harold submitted to, or signed and submitted along with 20 other supervisors to Governor Cuomo, as long as those two letters are in effect, I suggest strongly that you prepare to have more than 60 people show up at the meeting. That's all. Anyhow, I want to get back to the topic that I signed up for, okay? But thank you for responding. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to address the issue of communications between the town board and its constituents. I assume that you, the board, is familiar with the following quote from the Town Law Manual for Town Supervisors and Town Boards, published by the New York State Association of Towns. This will take 5 minutes. Representation. When a town board member votes on a proposal before a town board, he or she is representing, through that vote, the views of all of the residents of the town. Thus, a high personal responsibility rests on individual town board members. It requires that they exercise careful consideration in making important decisions which will affect the lives of town residents and businesses. The letters just submitted to you by over 430 of your constituents illustrates dramatically that in regard to the June 20th rotor resolution, the board is not representing the views of all of the residents of the town. It's clear that there's a serious communications problem between the board and its constituents, and I hope to offer a few suggestions that might make it easier for you members of the town board to represent all of us constituents accurately and fairly. First, what are some of the barriers to effective communication between the board and the average citizen? I'd like to give you an example. From time to time, when I've needed to communicate to you board members, I found it to be awkward and inconvenient because there's no set time or place to meet with my representative. I'm sensitive to your needs, and I believe that I respect your privacy, but yet I feel very uncomfortable with leaving an email, sending you an email to your personal inbox, or by stopping off at your house, Cindy, and interrupting what you're doing, or by calling a board member at home, which I've had to do a couple of times. And I've even interrupted one of the board members who's not here one time when he was on the phone with his wife, and it was call waiting kind of thing. He picked up the phone. I felt very uncomfortable. I felt like I was intruding, but I had business, legitimate business to be discussing with the board members. So, I could be wrong, but I also assume that as far as you guys are concerned, that it's awkward for you and sometimes unpleasant and unwelcome. You may be at home watching a football game or doing something with your family, and if somebody like me or anybody from the town who needs or wants to communicate with you calls you at home, or you get unwanted, uninvited emails or anything like that, that it must not be, you must not feel comfortable with that too. So what are the possible solutions? How can this situation be improved? From what I can see, there's two very easy solutions. The first is to provide separate email addresses for each one of you board members. And that email system should include a read receipt feature to indicate that if we send you an email, that you have at least received it. There's another feature that's available too, and that's that if you're going to be away on a trip someplace, you're unavailable, that if somebody sends you an email, there's an automatic kickback that says, I'm going to be out of town for a few days or whatever. So then if I'm trying to communicate with you by email and you're not going to be in town for a week, I'll know that I should go and send the email to some other board member's mailbox so that the message will get through. A second solution is to establish office hours when board members will be available to discuss citizens' concerns at the town hall or some other appropriate venue, and post the time and place on the town's website. I have a suggestion. You may not appreciate this, but that every Saturday morning between 10 o'clock and noon, that a pair of board members is available down here so that people who are working or people from the city who want to come up and discuss serious issues with you and let you know how they feel about things will have an appropriate time and a place to do that. There'd be a second advantage to that, and that's that I've heard you describe, Ed, how difficult it is because you know, you can only meet with one other board member at a time, I believe it is, because of the open meetings law. So if you have a pair of board members rotating every Saturday between 10 and 2, if there's some slack time, you know, when you don't have a constituent here that's conferring with you, those two members, like Harold and Al, could be discussing, you know, board issues or town issues. No, it would not be illegal because two people, as I understand it, could be meeting and discussing board-related issues. Is that not correct? Okay. So I have some additional suggestions for improving communications between the town board and your constituents. One would be to take advantage of, and I think Dan Hughes would corroborate this, Sullivan County Democrat is willing to publish occasional opinion pieces by the town supervisors in Sullivan County. So you, Ed, you could have, you know, like a little bit, it's not a bully pulpit, but you could keep us apprised of what issues are in the forefront in the town, you know, and keep the town informed as to what's going on and what you're up to. Alternatively, you could post from time to time messages on the town's homepage, you know, and that describes what current board matters and concerns are, things that you're, you know, dealing with, issues and so on and so forth, and you could solicit suggestions from the town's stakeholders. We could upgrade the town's website to include a public electronic forum where any stakeholder, a resident, taxpayer, landowner, registered voter, or business owner could express his or her concerns or opinions with regard to any town issue. As I see it, anybody that wanted to post to this site would first have to register with the town's webmaster. You know, it wouldn't be the kind of a thing where you would have anonymous postings where people could be abusive or anything like that. But, you know, it would have to be somebody who definitely had, you know, some right to express their concerns about whatever town business is going on. Another thing that could be done would be to add a message on the town's homepage to inform people that these video recordings of the town board meetings are available for viewing on cable TV. And I would thank you for considering these, giving some serious consideration to these suggestions. I hope that it'll help you to improve your service on the board. Thank you.
Okay. Speech
The next section of the meeting is public comment, and I have a list of speakers.
Ed.
Let's do the abstract. Okay, let's do the abstract first.
Could we just do one thing quick? He's got one. I just got one. Could, board approval, could I go to bid for that sander? That
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I'm sorry, thank you very much.
We didn't do a resolution.
We didn't do a resolution. So can I get we're gonna get a resolution to do that. Would somebody move it?
I'll move it.
Is that the thing
That's the thing we
The
talked
sander
about.
for the
Okay,
truck.
we just talked about
Actually,
it.
it was we meant to do it, but we just,
Yeah,
Okay.
we were busy.
we got talking about it.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, Al second.
Yep.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next section is the abstract, pay the bills. Can I get Cindy moves it. I get a second? Al second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have 14 people who would like to speak tonight. Tom Kapner is number one. Is Tom here?
Yes.
Again, I want to ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you. I will do my best to adhere to the just adopted meeting protocol. Good evening, everyone. Tom Kapner from Canova Lake. In our last meeting, I said that the questions that needed to be addressed about gas drilling fall into 2 broad categories: environmental and socioeconomic. Since I don't have any particular expertise on the environmental area, I will talk about the socioeconomic, where I do have some expertise. The first job I had after obtaining my PhD was with the United Nations Development Program. I evaluated development projects in Latin America, and those included several in the extractive industries area, including oil and mining. Evaluating development programs took the form of a cost-benefit analysis. We looked at what groups stood to benefit, how those benefits were shared, and what groups shouldered the cost of that type of development. When it came to extractive industries, we found the same overall pattern repeated in almost all instances. There was an initial boom period, with the benefits going primarily to outside groups, with a small number of locals sharing in the proceeds. The local economy and social structure bore the costs, which over time were devastating. The devastation of the environment and the impoverishment of the population, with scarce, if any, possibilities for recovery. Yes, there is an initial period when money flows in, but over time, the costs far outweigh the benefits. I've been looking at studies done by reputable researchers not linked to the industry on the socioeconomic impact of hydraulic fracturing on communities in the United States, and have found that the data overwhelmingly confirm the pattern I've just described. This is illustrated dramatically when you look at the areas where the practice has been in place the longest, in Wyoming, Colorado, Montana, and Utah. The extractive industry development model is indeed a seductive one because of the initial boom period. But when the resource is exhausted, the bust period sets in. Over time, the poorest and weakest economies are those that depended on fossil fuels or mineral wealth. Conversely, the strongest, with a sustained growth pattern, are those which relied on a diversified economic base. Extractive industries promote a monoculture pattern and are antithetical to diversification. Mr. Shepstown notwithstanding, gas drilling will destroy our agricultural sector. It's an exit strategy for farmers who are not making it, and I certainly would opt for it if I were in their shoes. But the demise of agriculture will not be good for our town. Though farmers' income may be small, there is a multiplier effect. It goes a long way and is spent mostly locally. Moreover, there is a symbiotic relationship to our other major economic base, tourism, recreation, and second homes. As our town's comprehensive plan wisely recognizes with its agriculture and farmland protection plan, we must do everything we can to promote agriculture and to enhance the future prospects for our farmers. And gas drilling is most emphatically not the ticket. Let's not abandon any chances for a
Tom, you're hitting 3
sustainable,
minutes. So
diversified development pattern in favor of short-term gains for a decade or so, favoring a small group at the expense of the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person on the list is Roy Tedoff.
It's inconsistent to establish a commission to study gas drilling if the board has already chosen for the right of property owners to, quote, determine how they exercise their mineral rights, unquote. Mr. Sykes and Mr. Roeder have already signed a letter urging the state to get on with their rules and regulations and allow drilling to begin. Is it cynical to think that the board is manipulating us with the commission, throwing us a bone while feeding us to the lions? Well, maybe Mr. Sykes is just trying to keep everybody happy. He has said that he doesn't think the gas companies are coming here, and he's pointed out that the Roeder resolution doesn't carry the weight of law. So he waits, he gives the pro-faction an empty resolution and the anti-faction a commission, then he waits until the whole thing dies down. Okay. But if we have a commission, its purpose will be to study the effect fracking will have on our town. The commission will ask whether the potential gain to the town outweighs the risk. It will invite expert opinion and ask the town's residents to give their views. The commission will make suggestions based on these studies And if it finds that the state regulations are inadequate, it might even recommend additional protections to be included in the leases of landowners. If the board can make a resolution asking the state to do what it wants, it can make a resolution asking the landowners to do what it would like. But the question is, can the board be open to the commission? If that is the board's intention, then the Rhoda resolution has to be considered suspended until the commission reports. And if the commission, if the commission is legitimate, the letter to the governor should be considered rescinded.
Thank you. Kate Kennedy.
Just as I'm not going to read these, but I just want you to know that I'm going to hand them off to Tess. Last week when I spoke or read my piece about fracking jobs and how to get them, there's also a huge risk when you're working on a manifold or laying pipe or anything, silica dust. This is from OSHA regarding fracking and silica dust. This is the Center for Disease Control regarding fracking and silica dust. So anyone that you know who's going to be working in this environment, please protect them and pass this information along.
I just want to make one. You know, there is a seat up here. Somebody wants one.
Okay. When you go to the Hayden Planetarium to see the solar system show, it opens with the Earth rising in the heavens, and you hear this voiceover. Then there beckoning in black space is planet Earth. When we see Earth from the outside, we see a completely new planet. Our planet is a world of water, intricate layers of blue and turquoise constantly rising and falling from the gravity force of our moon. Planet Earth is wrapped in a thin layer of atmosphere, the biosphere. If it weren't for this fragile cocoon, our planet would be as dry and lifeless as our nearest neighbors in the solar system. Planet Earth, this tiny oasis in an endless space, is our heritage and our home. We know Earth is a water planet, and we know that water combined with a chain of 6 carbon atoms is the source of all life as we know it. There is no life form, from an amoeba to a human, that can exist without water. If we destroy our water, we will destroy all life, and we too will cease to exist. I found that, really beautiful, this opening from the planetarium, this beautiful blue planet we live on. I have here a letter that's more than 3 years old. It's written by a physician in Garfield, Colorado. In the 12 years, I guess, that fracking's been going on there, you can smoke a pack of cigarettes, like one a day for a year, but you might not get cancer, but after 12 years, you could get sick. That's how I think about this letter. I'm ashamed of gas companies' snail-paced reply to my request for an urgent need of information on the MSDSs for fracking chemicals. Fortunately, the 2 families in question left their homes on my advice. The concern that I had for the 17-year-old did unfortunately die as the potential immune dysfunction from exposure to toxic volatile compounds, including benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, xylene from venting condensate tanks in the area. These gases are heavier than air and settle in low-lying areas like river basins, where I understand he lived close to, as well as one of the families that told me he lived in their vicinity. I have no connection to the 17-year-old boy or his family, otherwise I would have contacted the health department immediately. Getting to some of the issues that you raised in your letter, one family had onset illnesses that occurred after returning from vacation to find the flaming fracked gas, what you insinuate to be comparable to the natural gas burning in our homes. Their pictures of the flames showed a heavy blackened flame that I didn't see coming off a natural gas stove. They also complained of a foul smell from fracked flames. Again, I don't remember any smell coming from a natural gas stove. Also, they didn't put a chemical in the natural gas to make the odor detectable in case of a leak. You stated that the flaming burns of 99% of the natural gas directed to it into CO2, CO, carbon monoxide, carbon and carbon monoxide. and NOx, nitric oxides, and water vapor. Aren't carbon monoxide and nitric oxides health-threatening, if not environmentally damaging? Also, if the gas immediately after fracking were pure enough for commercial use, why would they be burning it off? As isn't commercial use their reason for drilling in the first place? Why would they burn off their profits? Also,
I just wanted to tell you, you have about 20 seconds.
Well, all right, then I'm not going to be able to finish it, but there's always next week. I'll hand this letter in. It is real. It's very compelling and to me quite frightening because people are actually starting to die. This was written by Dr. Wazinski in Garfield, Colorado. I also attached just one of many, many, many Google pages. So if you doubt that I'm telling you the truth, you can, look it up and read all about him and even contact him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Millie Cassess.
We understand that this September 5th letter was sent to our governor under the signatures of Supervisor Sykes and Harold Roeder. And
We
I'd
didn't
like
sign it, by the way, we endorsed it.
Well, it says signees on the letter that I have here, and your name is under that. And I'd like to read it into the public record since it was not made public to these constituents that it supposedly was written on behalf of. Dear Governor Cuomo, we, the undersigned elected officials, are writing to you with an urgent appeal to make a decision with regard to natural gas drilling in the southern tier of the state. As you know, we have been on the front lines in this debate for several years. We have studied the facts and data, we have talked to experts. Many of us have visited Pennsylvania to see ongoing drilling operations. All of us have had extensive interaction with our constituents. Based upon this careful deliberation, we have come to the conclusion that natural gas extraction, if handled properly, represents a unique opportunity to help our communities produce jobs and economic activity. Pursuant to your published comments on this matter, we have all enacted town resolutions declaring our support for the DEC and the executive and its process for moving forward. This action has made us a target for those who oppose the process. These individuals, most of whom live far outside our communities, simply do not care about our economic situation. Their concerns are ideological, ours are practical. We understand there would be strident opposition. We understood there would be strident opposition when we passed resolutions in favor of responsible drilling, but we went ahead in the belief that you wanted a demonstration of support and that it would advance the process. More than 40 towns have now passed resolutions in favor of responsible drilling. We consider this to be evidence of strong support for responsible drilling in the affected area. Given this demonstration of support, we do not understand the continued delay by your administration. We do not understand why New York State continues to debate a process that is carried out successfully in dozens of states for years and which was hailed recently by President Obama as an economic and environmental boon to our nation. On behalf of our constituents, we urge you to act, to direct the DEC to move forward as soon as possible with rules and regulations governing the process and to begin permitting. We want you to know that continued delay is problematic for several reasons. First, you need to understand the dire situation facing both our constituents and our municipalities. Our constituents' farms, businesses, and finances are precarious. Many individuals are holding on in expectation of being able to develop their property, but they cannot hold on much longer. Every day of delay means more will have to sell out. As you might imagine, this has a tremendous negative impact on municipal finances. Perhaps no other region of the state has been harder hit by economic decline than our region. Responsible drilling is our best hope for resurgence. Second, continued delay dismisses the economic benefits that could accrue in the southern tier if drilling was permitted. In this regard, businesses in this sector are making investment decisions that now will mean jobs added in Pennsylvania instead of New York. We are aware of several instances recently where major support facilities linked to drilling have been constructed across the border rather than in New York. We have lost jobs and investments as a result. Lastly, the delay is only empowering opponents, some of whom have now taken to civil disobedience and other disruptive acts. While everyone supports the right of people to express their views, we see a situation where opponents are distorting the facts and trying to impose their views, of what is right in our community. For all these reasons and more, we urge you to act as soon as possible. We urge you to enact a plan to promote responsible drilling. Thank you for considering our views on this matter, and it is signed, says signees and Supervisor Sykes and Deputy Supervisor Howard Roeder. Your name is on here, and I just would like that to be part of the public record, because I and many of us here are your constituents. Thank you.
Steve Lundgren, you're getting 2 bites of the apple, Steve?
Yeah, this is a different apple that I'm taking a bite of. My name is Steve Lundgren, a resident of Hortonville. I represent a little bit less than 1 acre of land, and I'm willing to divulge the names of the owners of the land that I represent, contrary to what some people, would be doing, or might be doing later on tonight. This is a response from 6 of your constituents to this letter that we knew nothing about, except for the fact that there was an article in the Sunday paper a couple of weeks ago that made reference to this letter that you, Ed, and you, Harold, signed on to on behalf of your constituents without consulting anybody at all or letting anybody know that this was going on. I don't even know if other board members were aware of this. So here's our response. Dear Governor Cuomo, as constituents of the town of Delaware, Sullivan County, and on behalf of Delaware concerned citizens, we write to express our concern and our outrage at the fact that Town Supervisor Ed Sykes and Deputy Supervisor Harold Roeder recently signed a letter to you that comprises almost entirely false claims so far as our town is concerned. As you will see from reading our point-by-point rebuttal of the claims made in the letter, the whole episode simply confirms that the issue of gas drilling has precipitated a breakdown of good government in our town. The letter in question was dated September 5th. It urged you to direct the DEC to begin permitting for gas drilling as soon as possible. We quote from the letter. 1. Research. We have studied the facts and data. We have talked to experts. There's been no public, that's the fiction. There has been no public investigation into the health, environmental, or economic issues associated with drilling whatsoever. No hearings have been held. No objective experts consulted for the public record. If members of the board have studied or consulted in private with experts, they have not shared what they have learned with the community, nor have they informed us who the experts are that they are relying on. 2. Consultation. All of us, this is a quote from the letter, all of us have had extensive interaction with our constituents. I'd like people in the audience to raise your hands if any of these board members have had extensive or intensive interaction with you and have asked you your opinion on drilling. I don't see any hands raised. No public meetings or hearings have been held to encourage discussion or to gauge the views of the community. No survey has been conducted. A request for public discussion at the June 20th board meeting resulted in the immediate and surprise adoption of the pro-fracking resolution that is referred to in the letter. The Roeder resolution was not the culmination of public debate and inquiry. To the contrary, it was introduced without notice in what appears to have been an attempt to stifle debate and consultation. In August, we were finally promised a commission or a committee that would thoroughly and openly investigate the impact of drilling on our town. Having read the letter that the governor has received, we now have reason to believe that this may have been intended as a diversionary tactic by a board whose mind was already made up. The nature of the disagreement. The Sykes-Roeder letter alleges that opponents of gas drilling mostly live far outside our communities. We have a few people here who live in New York City but have second homes here. You look around, you're going to see your neighbors, people that you see every day in the town of Delaware. These are not people who live far outside the community. And these are not people who simply do not care about our economic situation. You maintain in your letter that our concerns are ideological and that yours are practical. I don't see that. We know from conversations with our neighbors that these claims that you've made in the letter are false. Many full-time residents of our town oppose gas drilling in the way that you, the board, is dealing with this issue. All residents and property owners care about the economic situation in the town. It would be irrational not to care. There's no clash between the practical and the ideological. There's deep disagreement about what is practical, about what is best for the town and all its stakeholders in the long run. As for the implication that those who do not live here full-time are economically irrelevant, this too is false. Such people comprise the second largest industry in our town. They support real estate, people like Gerald Euchre over there, contractors, restaurants, nurseries, local farmers, gas stations, you name it. They contribute to the economy. Municipal finances. The delay has a tremendous negative impact on municipal finances. Responsible drilling is our best hope for resurgence? I don't think so. A recent study by Penn State University found that gas drilling has had no effect either way on municipal finances in Pennsylvania. Representative government. On behalf of our constituents, we urge you to act. That's a quote from your letter. In refusing to conduct a thorough survey of the opinion of all of the town's stakeholders, the town board has utterly failed to represent all of its constituents. Over 430 people have signed letters making this plain with the words, "You don't speak for me." Demonization of the opposition. The Sykes-Roeder letter contains this preposterous statement. Our opponents have now taken to civil disobedience and other disruptive acts. What civil disobedience and disruptive acts can you cite? Absolutely none. And that we are distorting the facts and trying to impose our views on what is right in our community. We are not aware of any acts of civil disobedience in the town of Delaware. It is telling that any attempt to express an opinion on the most important policy question ever to face our town is characterized as imposing a view. It is moreover hard to see how this could be done in the absence of any structured public forum for debate about the issue. Bad faith. There is one element of truth in the letter. It says that the resolution passed in June was a demonstration of support for gas drilling. We acknowledge and accept that's what your letter constitutes. We've known this all along. What does the letter show about your claim, Ed, that this resolution was benign? It had no force of law or anything like that. It was simply an affirmation of property rights. The resolution doesn't mention property rights at all. All it talks about is mineral rights. Those are two different things. In sum, the letter that you, Governor Cuomo, received contains many misleading and false statements. It misrepresents public opinion in the town of Delaware and the way that the town board is dealing with the issue of gas drilling. Thank you.
I take exception to the personal attack on me.
So no. Liam Murphy?
3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes, please. Everybody's been going over, and you get to the end of the letter, and I let it go, but it goes on and on. So I'm going to time you, buddy.
Okay, I'll probably be less. Okay, I'm Liam Murphy, Canosa Lake. So first we had the Roeder pro-fracking resolution in June, passed without public discussion or notice. Then in July, during a meeting where tempers were running high, the idea of a commission was brought up. At the time, some in the audience ridiculed the idea as a whitewash. At the time, I thought that those people were wrong. I thought at the time, and I continued to think through August, that the commission had been proposed in good faith, that it was a good way to gather the specifically local information we needed if a reasoned decision about drilling was to be made. So I supported the idea of the commission. But you know what? Those people who ridiculed the idea of a commission back in July, they were right. Mr. Sykes and Mr. Roeder signed the September 5 letter to the governor. The letter makes plain. First, as we thought all along, the Roeder resolution was not some benign affirmation of property rights. That is an effort to communicate clearly to the governor that drilling was welcome in Delaware. Second, the letter makes plain that the commission is a diversionary tactic. The letter calls for the issuing of permits as soon as possible. Why then ask people of good faith to investigate the issues if the board's mind is already made up? Who in their right minds would put in the time to serve on a commission that has no purpose whatsoever except to distract people from what's really going on? At this point, it's really hard to see how trust can be restored. But I think there's one last hope. If this board declares a moratorium on gas drilling, thus nullifying the effects of the Roeder resolution and the September 5 letter, pending the outcome of the commission's work, that would change everything. The commission would have a point. Its work would not be wasted. And that'd be good, because it would make possible later at the end of the moratorium period an honest discussion based on facts, not fiction. But without such a moratorium, the Commission has no credibility, and I'm afraid to say it is worse than useless. Thank you.
Noel Van Swol.
Mr. Murphy, am I right in saying that in a letter in the Sullivan County Democrat, you indicated that you thought the board's resolution should be repealed before the commission went into effect?
You know what, no,
Okay.
no, please don't talk to us.
Okay.
Please don't.
Well, all right,
That's not-
he's not in an agreement, so I think that nullifies considerable amount of what he said. There's considerable concern that the new gas drilling commission will be subverted to result in the banning of gas drilling in the town of Delaware. I personally am pleased with the selections made by this board and hope that it will do its job in an honest and objective manner. Now, with respect to the issue of civil disobedience, as referred in that letter, even State Senator Libous has been threatened by radical environmentalists, according to a recent issue of the New York Post, and he indicated that this is going on extensively up and down the region. In fact, not directly in the town of Delaware yet, but there have been many threats and acts of vandalism across the Delaware River against the property of Hess and Newfield Energy, and this has been documented in the Hancock Herald, the Wayne Independent, and the River Reporter. Now I'm going to quote something from the Sullivan County Democrat. In Pennsylvania, over 5 years, the natural gas boom has added 30,000 jobs, $11 billion to the annual economy, and $1.1 billion in state and local tax revenues. What I know from dealing with geologists who are expert in this issue, we have a resource that could last from 50 to 100 years. That is the life expectancy of the Marcellus wells. Now, for the record, since 1949, fracking has been used in over 1 million wells here in the United States with no adverse effects on anyone. No one has ever, excuse me.
Everybody listens, if you're pro or con, please be fair. No, I just wanted to mention, we have about 25 seconds.
Okay. No one has ever been poisoned as a result of fracking. In conclusion, prominent Democrats such as President Obama, Mayor Bloomberg, former Energy Secretary and New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, and even Governor Mario Cuomo all support gas drilling. They are all currently on board. It is inevitable, and I hope that the town of Delaware will take part in the riches that will ensue.
Pam Lundgren?
No more Holy London. I mention that because I'm a homegrown girl, and I want to specifically talk to, first I want to thank you, board members, for providing service. It is a hard time to be doing this. Thank you. It's a hard time to be doing this, and I do appreciate your efforts. Okay. The one thing that, it's already been said, so I'll be very quick, is I have a few comments from local people to tell you about that have to do with your resolution, Hal.
Okay.
And that was, you know, I certainly wasn't in agreement with it, and I felt it was an emotional knee-jerk response. And the good thing about human behavior is we can always change it. We can apologize, we can be forgiven, and we can forgive. So I'm hoping that, I want to thank you for creating a commission. I think it will only serve a purpose, though, if in fact this resolution is rescinded And if in fact we go back to a position of neutrality, then their purpose will be served. They will try to find the truth. Otherwise, I mean, it seems kind of pointless. Also, a suggestion on that is one of the first things I'd like to have happen is to see that they collect data in the township as to who is for and who's against, an actual number. I'd like to know a number, a real number. I don't know how exactly to get that accurately, but I'd like them to be part of that. If it, you know, assuming it goes ahead. The other thing is that I think that most of us are aware of the dire economic conditions. I certainly am. I've worked in the schools. I have a private counseling practice. I see people all the time who are in dire economic situations, and people who aren't. So I don't feel that gas drilling is a solution necessarily. But anyway, all that being said, I want to see some caring come back because that's how I grew up here. I've lived in a lot of wonderful places, and people ask me, what's it like to grow up in a small community? And I say, people care. And some of the actions that, frankly, you've taken show a lack of caring. So I want to see that brought back, and I have full confidence in your integrity to do so. Okay, from Rosemary Rosenberger. I was not pleased by the board's actions and the reported behavior of the board members who are elected to represent us. If one is not capable of keeping emotions in control, they do not belong on such a board. From Peggy Raymer Sattler and Jeff Sattler. We are against any type of fracking. Therefore, we don't agree with this resolution. From Helen Hartz, who said to me, they'll probably think I'm an old bat. Helen is a senior member here. She can barely read because she's almost blind, but she does, and she follows every detail. And it says, I don't want fracking in my town. How about a study of the industry and then do some adult debating on the subject? That's before any resolutions or any letters are sent out. From Carol Rosenberger, who's consulted with an engineer and has regular fights with Bill Gravy, apparently. They're on each other opposite hills there. I'm concerned about chemicals. They all gave me permission, by the way, to use their names and read this. I'm concerned about chemicals used to do hydrofracking. The taxpayers of the town of Delaware should be able to vote on this issue. From Lundgren's, 3 of us. Please rescind the Rota resolution. Thank you.
Ginny Boyle.
I want to share some more of the comments that were in response to the Rota resolution. The first is my own. I'm disappointed in the board's hasty decision. This resolution was pushed through with little thought or discussion. Town of Delaware citizens deserve better. You have let us down. This is from Phyllis Billick. I do not want the gas industry to operate here. From Jane Orcott. I'm very disappointed in the action that the town of Delaware took before allowing residents to be heard. From Ginny Guglielmoni. I do not like the backdoor way this was handled. Let's readdress the issue with all viewpoints voiced and represented with respect. And from Thomas Martin and Martha Martin, please reverse your decision. Respect the rights of all property owners and taxpayers.
Thank you, Ginny. Elise?
I'd like to read 3 more letters. You don't speak for me. This is from Jean Stellman of Canosa Lake. Regardless of merit, the manner in which this resolution was passed is indefensible and undemocratic. This is Diane Dilworth Christie and Ian Christie of Calico. I was outraged to hear that this resolution passed. It is something that I would never like to see in my town. And I don't know many of my neighbors who are willing to risk their water with fracking. Lastly, this is a resident of County Route 164 in Calicone. I have never seen a place more beautiful than Calicone. It's like a slice of heaven. While I understand the desire of some landowners to sell their interests, I implore you not to allow the devastation of this area. Please do not permit the resolution of this very important issue to stand as a testament to the power of the almighty dollar.
Joe?
Thanks for hearing this, and I hope that you guys will take the time to go through those
letters because it's really revealing what people have to say. And one of the common threads, of course, gas drilling is mentioned, but I think the most common thread is the manner in which it was passed, and that I think most people are feeling that we just didn't have consultation. And these 3 or 4 letters follow that up. The board, this is from a resident on Route 17B in Calicoon. The board must consider all taxpayers' rights and not just a few. Also, the board must run meetings by proper laws and not make decisions or resolutions with just a couple of board members' opinions. This is a couple on the River Road in Calicoon. My wife and I have been property owners in the town of Delaware for 50+ years. The resolution by the town board does not reflect our views and is a total travesty of justice that all property owners' voices were silenced by the board. This resolution should be discarded and a new date and time set for a meeting and every property owner notified by mail with sufficient time to attend and their views heard. Our view is hydrofracking at this time is unsafe and should be banned in the town of Delaware. This is from Timothy Hornacek and Debbie Hornacek of Hortonville. They say, a very bad decision with poor planning by the town of Delaware board. So much to say in a small space. Tim and Debbie are outraged and shocked. And finally, this is just my own. Regardless of one's stance on gas drilling, we all want open and responsive government. The town's pro-drilling resolution was not open for discussion with the townspeople. We believe it was passed hastily, emotionally, and without due process by the town. It should be suspended pending further townwide consideration, which could culminate in a referendum and a vote. Thank you.
Kay Rosenberger.
All of us here are friends and neighbors. I'm Kay Rosenberger. I've lived here my entire life. My husband and I have raised our family here, and they have been able to find gainful employment. I'd like to express a few thoughts I've had that we might consider. There's a hierarchy of needs that every living thing must have. Those most basic are water, air, and food. We have been blessed with these. In the very near future, we in our area will be determining if these are blessings that we will protect or will destroy, possibly. I urge each and every one to consider all the consequences of us possibly destroying our God-given, life-giving, non-renewable resources. An old adage says, our children do not inherit the earth from us. We borrow it from them. What are we going to do to their earth and leave them? Aren't we thankful our forefathers took good care of our heritage? Now, are we going to rush into a situation we cannot reverse and create something like a Humpty Dumpty that cannot be put together again? Thankfully, we have an alternative to just giving up. There has been some consideration to appointing a committee of people who are committed to represent all of the residents and taxpayers and diligently educate themselves in the interest of all of us in this situation. Let us search our hearts and consider if we wouldn't be wise to take our time so that we make a decision that will be in the best interest of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Chinicki.
This is also Michael Chinicki. I live up in the Beechwoods, and this is also a response to the letter that was sent to Governor Cuomo. As a response to the letter, the September 5th letter that was sent on my quote-unquote behalf to Governor Cuomo and endorsed by some members of the town board, for the record, it does not speak for me. I do not endorse beginning the gas drilling permitting process because from all my research I'm certain that slick water, high pressure horizontal hydrofracturing which is what the industry wishes to bring to the area, cannot be done responsibly at this point. Also, this letter falsely states that as a constituent, I do not live far outside our communities, and my concerns are not ideological. First, in fact, I am deeply part of the community. I'm a 7.5-year volunteer member of the town planning board. I donate much of my time and professional services to the town and such organizations as Habitat for Humanity, AYSO Soccer, and have worked with our children at the Delaware Valley Community Center. I'm a 10-year member of the Callicoon Creek Park Committee and on the board of Sullivan Alliance for Sustainable Development promoting renewable energy. Second, I feel my concern on the issue is real, not ideological. It is my strong belief that even if a drilling accident never does occur, which is statistically virtually impossible, there will still be extensive air, water, soil, and sound pollution that comes with normal fracking operations. Many of our light-duty country roads will be destroyed by the tens of thousands of truck trips, estimated at 1,000 trips per well per fracking operation of 30 to 40 to 60 ton vehicles. With the increased truck traffic, our roadways will be far more dangerous to travel, especially for our youth and the elderly. Any jobs gained will be temporary and more than offset by jobs lost in the tourism and other industries, and also concerns with the increase of crime which comes with itinerant work population, and the list goes on. This is why I propose drilling in our community. I am not jealous of the people who would gain financially from the industry, nor do I wish to deprive others who feel their right to profit from their land. But in this case, their profits would negatively affect the health of our community and should not be allowed. Being on the planning board, we have denied presenters for various desired uses on their land, such as clear cutting or businesses that were not zoned for the area. The zoning laws were established for the good of the community at large. The planning board's priority is to deal fairly with everyone, at the same time protect all individuals. As a planning board member, do I take people's right to use their property in any way they please, regardless of the impact on one's neighbors? I don't think so. Additionally, the way that the proposed gas commission, the only way that the proposed gas commission could be effective is if it undertakes a fair voting process or a survey in the town to assess how many people are for or against allowing gas drilling here. In the present climate, such a commission would be ineffectual at best and quite probably a farce. A moratorium on gas drilling would be the proper action to take as a neutral position, which the town board has always adhered, while a study is proceeding. A moratorium can be repealed at any juncture once the commission reports its finding. It is not a ban on gas drilling. The real taking would be from our children's children if we permit drilling as intensely as the industry wants. In conclusion, no matter what, I will continue to be a vibrant part of the community because of my love for the area and its citizens. I will still give a wave, offer a pleasant word, and share a cup of coffee with all those of our community, refusing to allow the gas industry's desire to divide us as a people. Thank you.
Buck Moorhead.
Hi, Buck Moorhead, Callicoon, and New York City. I wanted to respond first to what Dick Riesling actually talked about at the beginning. I don't know, there was a little bit of a discussion, but whether he was talking about something which was phenomenal, this opportunity to develop projects that are climate change responsive, and also they're judged on how many local jobs they create. And there's enormous money, and Dick is our neighbor, and he's got the capacities on this. He's at a high level of that group in the Mid-Hudson. And I think the town if it wants to set a commission that actually could be meaningful and do something, I think it should set a commission around looking for that type of project by that January deadline. Because he's talking real money. 300 million, 10% could come into this region, $30 million, and we could get a piece of that. So I would say that would be something we should right away, this board, if it wants to set up a commission that's meaningful, set up that commission to look for that type of project in this town. Second thing, I am a big fan of ground rules. I think everyone should be respectful in meetings. I don't know I would agree with every single word of that thing, but I'm agree completely with the concept of ground rules. But it's a two-way street in the sense that my sense of this board, and this is from seeing a couple of the meetings and putting that resolution into it, is the board is not being respectful of the community. And that's, we're asked to be respectful in the meetings, fine, I agree with that, but the board has to be respectful by listening and taking in things and acting. I mean, I can't believe what Romney said the other day, but to not care about 100% of the residents and what they're thinking is not being respectful to this community. So I think that that's the next step for the board. I agree completely with the idea of rescinding this resolution until the commission has a chance to do its work. I think establishing a moratorium in that brings it back to a neutral position. I think the commission, as I've told Ed directly, I think that looking for the truth is a very tough goal. I think that has to be reframed and make it something that's more realistic, because there are a lot of people looking for truth around this. And the reality is that this type of industry there are just degrees of risk that people are measuring. No one can say with any certainty or any truth about what's going to be happening here. It's just measuring degrees of risk that this community or any community wants to put itself through with respect to this activity. I appreciate that the commission is formed. I like this idea, but I think it has to be in an environment where it thinks it's going to be meaningful and it's going to be listening to by you folks, and that it's set up in a situation where we don't have a resolution that's promoting it at the same time they're asked to do something. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's all our speakers. Any board comment? No? And I think we've covered everything. Can I get I guess we can end it. Those are all paid. But it's that care, so. Adjourn. Make a motion that we adjourn. Second. Anybody second? Who made it? Cindy. Al, you second? Yep. All those in favor?
Aye. If anyone wants to give me your comments, I'll collect them.
Huh?